Here we are in episode 27 of the Simple Success Podcast. This is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Coaching happiness. When you change you change everything. Last week we talked about the knowing-doing gap, and this week the pod is about the science of being well. I thought I was here to tell you about financial life coaching. I am, of course. It's more specific than that, though. As most of you already know, it's financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Lots of emphasis these days on happiness, and that's good. Lots of emphasis these days, and in former days, on the study of finances, and that's also good. Seems obvious to combine the two, doesn't it? I have mentioned psychology before, right? Consider Wattles a psychology professor. I've also mentioned positive thinking, right? I mean, we still have to be careful to observe what happens. This wouldn't be much of a practical guide without that. I remember when I was little, my mom used to save space in the cookie tin by combining two completely different textures and flavors of cookies together. Specifically, I'm talking about those square lemon cookies made by a bakery named Archway and the classic original brown and white Oreos, together in a cookie tin. It only takes a day or so, maybe less, to have a bunch of lemony chocolate, sort of firm but also squishy cookies on your hands, so be careful with combinations. Combinations can result in more than just happy people. But here, combining finances with happiness works, the kind of habits we want to create. This is where life satisfaction comes from. One of our first challenges is starting with the principle of health. The first chapter in the science of being well. In this chapter of this incredible book, Wattles introduces, or perhaps returns to it if this isn't the first of his books you've read, the idea of the certain way. One of the most important sources of happiness you'll ever find. True meaning in life. And he capitalizes certain and way. It took me a long time to internalize what he was saying here and how that fit into my happy life, but it's actually clarified by the factors in his very next sentence. Let me break that down for you. The way a man thinks about things is determined by what he believes about them. What does that remind you of? The subconscious mind? As a man thinketh is what your answer should be. Let's be clear. Both these quotes use the word man, but both apply just as well to all genders and all ethnicities, just like belief, at least in my world, encompasses a bunch of different faiths. This is what Wattles means by the certain way. Poet Maya Angelou expressed a great outlook on life, saying in her famous quote, "People will forget what you say, people will forget what you do, but people will never forget how you made them feel." If you do things in a certain way, people will feel good and they will remember that. And if the little devil on one of your shoulders is telling you that all this is just BS, just consider that further evidence. Wait a minute, let's not forget emotions. I should do that last line like a Baptist preacher. And if that little devil on your shoulders is telling you that this is all just BS, just consider that further evidence. That's the crux of everything. You thought I was going to go chapter by chapter, didn't you? Oh, maybe I will in the future. Maybe I don't think that's a good idea today, and maybe I'll change my mind about that tomorrow. But I will still do things the certain way. In the subsequent chapters, which you'll remember I just said I'm not going to go through in detail, Wattles gives needed detail about doing things in the certain way, involving thinking perfect health and then practicing it. Positive emotions. The same exact steps will lead to getting rich, doing well, and succeeding beyond your dreams, and just generally making a difference in your world. The steps, interestingly, are the same steps we should all use in a lot of areas in life, finance included. They include proper breathing, good sleep, eating only when you're hungry, Tim Ferriss kind of stuff. Spoiler alert, it works. Hello everyone, this is John with the Simple Success Podcast, financial life coaching from a happiness perspective, because we know you want to show us some serious love in return for the tremendous benefits you get from us. Please head over to https://anchor.fm simple success. That's one word, simple success support. There, you can choose from a $9.99 per month doer level of support, a $4.99 listener level, or a basic intro level of just 99 cents per month. That's not much when you compare it to a stockbroker, right? And this is so much more sensible. To leave us a voice message, which just might see the light of day in a future podcast, go to https://anchor.fm simple success. Again, one word, simple success message. I won't repeat those links because weird, and anyway, show notes. The science of being well. Once upon a time, our hero Thomas Lopez Alvarez felt well. He felt well because he had decided to feel well. How is that for creative visualization? You mean to say, said everyone, that I'm supposed to believe that I can put that into action? I can achieve decades of progress in my own head? Now? Thomas calmly addressed everyone that day. He was ready to commit to a serious rewirement challenge, a new mental picture. With the hiss of the surrounding fountains fading into the sunset, Thomas asserted that he indeed felt well. The relentless among us would easily unearth the significance of feeling well. They would firmly connect it to the state of being well. After all, if you are it, you feel it, right? Thomas had nearly been misdirected by thoughts of whether or not it was better to be carnivorous or vegetarian or vegan, and Wattles had helped by putting all of that into unnecessary worry. Thomas realized that his financial happiness could follow the exact same pattern. He could invest and feel well at the same time. In fact, he could feel well because he felt good about investing. He had control that we all have available, control that we all crave. Satisfaction with life, quality of life, there it was. His because he wanted it. His because he asked for it. His because he had a definite plan and purpose. A purpose of generous funding. Doesn't that also sound familiar? If it doesn't yet, it will. It's exactly the kind of psychological wealth leading to optimal health in which I specialize. We'll be back with our call to action, our CTA, right after the break. In this Simple Success podcast, as well as in our webinars and masterclasses, we are very, very much going to want to hear your story. Well, to be real, I mean in future episodes of the podcast's webinars and masterclasses. This means you. Your participation is critical to our mutual simple success. It's important to know how you think, what you've thought, what you've tried, and what you've been unsure of trying. As we told you at the beginning, and as you also find in the show notes, we have ways you can contact us. It involves a special link where you can leave us a voice message, which just might see the light of day in a future podcast. We may have an email address for you as well in the future, and we'll let you know when that happens. Together, we're going to make it great. We're going to do what even we didn't think possible. We know a lot about you already because we know ourselves. For example, we know that you know how to listen to our podcast. We also know that you probably know how to subscribe. The reason every podcast asks you this is because when you subscribe, you automatically download all future episodes of that podcast. This means better rankings, more attention from advertisers, and more money. And that means more and better stuff for you. So your motivation is simple and easy. Subscribe today, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Oh, and don't just try to subscribe. There is no try. There is only do. Remember, this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Right after this, we'll explore some more important details you should know. But for now, use your imagination to help create your story. Next week, we're going to look at another concept, and that is the science of being great. That got picked for me by my topics randomizer. It really did. I know I said a few weeks ago that it was weird to be doing 2 books in a row, and yet I'm doing it again. Random is random. I'm really not prepackaging this stuff, but instead making it relevant so we can all, me included, learn how to do this right. And we're going to bring that into the world of investing. And it's going to be a great episode. But for now, remember, happy Web Designer Day. I mean, all you got to do is practice, after which you'll get good. Gracias por escuchar. A la prochaine. Credits for today's episode. Techno King, John C. Brandy, Seagull Example, Shola, Salako, Fact Checker, Abraham Lincoln, French Consultant, Virginia Mitchell, Media Expert, Favour, Obasi-Ike, Psychologist, Sigmund Freud, Rabbit Hole Advisor, Dr. Marg, Perrott, Sound Designer, Gugliemo, Marconi, Spanish Consultant, Cameron J.K. Brandy, Videographer, Alfred Hitchcock, Audio Props, Les Paul, and Inspiration, Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, and Bob Proctor. Look at the written show notes to subscribe, to support, or to send us a voice message.